Shameless plug. We're gonna talk about how you can be an influencer just like me. First, get pregnant. Second, get married. Third, have the baby. Fourth, get divorced. Fifth, start dating, baby. You're in. Okay, dating, relationships, motherhood stuff. This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions. I feel like I say that all the time, but this is just a very common one that I thought would be a good idea to do a video with because I get asked this question a lot. I don't ever want you guys to feel like I'm gatekeeping, so I'm gonna free ball. So I want to give you guys some tips, and we're gonna answer your top 5 most common questions, and I'll let you guys know where I went wrong and where I went right, so you don't have to do it, and so you can do it. You don't have to go through the tedious process things that I went through, if that makes sense. So first question, from a business point, how do I best start as an influencer? You just do it. And I know that sounds dumb. When I tell you, I felt like a grind hustler, hustle bustle baby, grind all day and night. Don't sleep. Just kidding. I slept 8 hours a day. That's a lie. I was breastfeeding. I slept like 4 hours a day. And I napped through the day. Not the point. When I was up and I had the time, I worked my butt off. I would film, and if I wasn't filming, I was emailing brands so much. In fact, I have emails from brands that told me, no, you're not really our style. Okay, you can just tell me no. You don't have to add on not your style. What, my boobs aren't big enough? Because that was obviously what it was. Because everyone's boobs were huge. But remember, what I lack for in boobs, I make up for in personality. And that's what I told them. But as an ex-boyfriend, they always come back and they wanted me. And I was like, really? What about this old email from 2 years ago? Yeah, I hold a grudge. Just do it because you love it. That's honestly how you're going to survive in this. I love making comedy and being weird and telling stories. And I clearly love crying on camera. And I feel like this is advice that can be reached in all aspects, right? If you love what you do and you are a hard worker, you work hard at it, you will be successful. Don't just do this because it sounds cool, but you really have no genuine interest in it because it has a lot of extra things. You do share your life publicly, or people feel entitled to know a certain side of you. Sometimes they feel like they own you because they made you. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's the perception. Also, it makes relationships, the dynamic with friends and lovers and family, sometimes a little different. So it's understanding that, but if you love it and you will work hard, you're going to be awesome at it. And you're going to find your niche. I know that's such an overused term, but I found mine, and it's not really a narrow one. It's very wide and broad, and it occupies all facets of my life, and that just works for me. And what works for me is going to be different for you. So I'm not going to give you content tips because that might not align with who you are, what you're going through in this stage of your life right now, or your brand. How I started, I really loved it, and I worked my ass off. That's how I started. And it was very slow in the beginning. And then I started filming, and then I hit a viral video, and I felt really lucky when that happened. I know that's very rare, and I don't want to take that lightly or for granted. And sometimes you just got to post something that's kind of uncomfortable. You probably wouldn't post. I loved it. I didn't mind it. If it made me laugh, if it made me feel something, if it made me think a different way, I wouldn't mind putting it out there. So before my manager, like I told you guys, I was the one sending emails to so many brands, and they told me no so many times. And the first 50, I took very personally. Excuse me, do you know who I am? I have 6,000 followers, mister. All right? Check yourself. No, I didn't say that. I actually felt kind of ridiculous asking brands because there was a part of me that felt like, what am I doing? This is dumb. But it worked. And one said yes, 2 weeks in. And it wasn't even a brand. It was this woman who was decorating Christmas ornaments. I still remember this. She paid me $200 to post about her Christmas ornament. And it was so cute. And I'm like, yeah. And I got a free Christmas ornament. I like that. I will never forget. That was my first one. That's how I reached out to brands. I would just kind of cold calling, but you email instead. And I would also give them an organic idea. So for instance, let's say there was a brand, I'm trying to think of a good one I had because some were kind of okay because I was sending so many. I couldn't really give top tier advice every time. I think it was a baby company, and I had an idea for a joke with the Hispanic mother one at that point. She only uses this kind because it competes with prices, and she points out an ingredient. I don't know. In my head, it makes sense. But anyways, I gave them an idea, and then I pitched myself. So basically, it's like I'm giving you value before I ask for anything, and I didn't even ask for anything. Like, I just wanted to reach out and be a part of your brand because I like it. And I would also reach out multiple times, like, hey, just following up. Like, as if they responded the first time. They didn't. It's fine. It became habit, and I got used to it, and then it started landing and picking up. I got videos that were hitting more numbers, and then that transition happened. And then at that point, when you reach a certain amount of followers, the brands will start reaching out to you. There's going to be a lot initially that want to give you free stuff, or you want to be part of our rewards program or our influencer program. If you want this to be your career, don't say yes to brands that don't align with your values and you don't align with theirs. If you don't want this to be your career, then do that. Like, if you don't care about growing, you just want to make a quick, yeah, sure, go for it. But I bring this up because aligning with a brand that doesn't align with your morals is going to catch up to you. I remember I did one brand that didn't align with mine, and that was lack of education on my end. You also have to research these brands. I was reaching out to brands left and right because I knew I was going to get rejected. I just wanted to land one and kind of learn about it. Then I realized it's not just about that. At the point where it's my reputation, that's when it matters, because perception is super important. And the only thing you can show are snippets of your life, right? The most intimate I felt with you guys is through YouTube. You guys see me long form. You see my stutters when I pause, when I think, where I look, how I act when I'm speaking to you like I would a friend. But on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I don't really know Twitter or Snapchat or all that, but all the other social media platforms, it's much shorter. Just make sure the brands you work with align with what you believe in, because it's an extension of you. It's a representation of you. And that kind of brings me into another question, like choosing a manager. The brands you work with and the person who manages you or your agent are the most important decisions you are going to make in this field. Your manager is an extension of you. It's like a boyfriend, right? When you walk in the room with someone, that says a lot about you. Who is with you? Who do you have next to you? That says a lot about you. Same with the brand. Okay, look, I have just a tub of this brand that I'm working with. It's called Stir, and I talk about them all the time. Like, when people come to my house, I'm like, hey, you want some Stir? They're like, yeah, you already given me 85 bottles. But anyways, I'm actually going to put some in my water because I need to drink water right now. Plug. See, it's easy to plug when it's actually organic. You know what I mean? Drop the mic, girl. Preaching facts. Spitting fire. So yeah, this is actually the first, invested in, okay? And I mean, with my time. They're putting me in the process. I'm investing my money in this because I believe in this brand and the people who work for it so much. It's easy. So right now, where I am at this stage in my career, I have the privilege to really nitpick who I get to work with and who I get to represent and represent me. And Stir has been my dream guy, if I could say that. I want to marry Stir. I want Stir to be the guy at the end of the aisle. I know I'm using a lot of analogies on dating, but maybe that's my brand, baby. This is called staying on brand. Lesson number 8. Fruit punch. I like Razzle Dazzle, also known as Blue Raspberry. Has electrolytes, antioxidants, no sugar added. But yeah, Stir was one of those companies. When you vibe with a company and they vibe with you, it's chef's kiss. It's a beautiful, when I met the staff, in love. Founder, in love. We get to talk about flavors and what are we going to film here and how are we going to represent this product and how can we rebrand this and how do we reach this audience? It's so cool and it's my dream. I love being a part of it. I love being in a creative room. Also, I might be appreciating this way more because this is post-COVID, right? I haven't been in that since before I gave birth, honestly. So it's cool to be in that environment again. And Stir is one of the dream companies that I'm working with. I'm actually going to New York in a couple weeks to launch a new flavor. But I digress. Back to managers. They are also important, just as a brand is. So I'm proud to be with Stir, and I like flexing them all the time. I don't care. That's my man. That's right. Don't touch. Just kidding. I want you to use him. This is turning weird. But manager is so important. I interviewed so many managers. Fun fact, read the contract thoroughly because what the frick? I was able to read those contracts because I was in research, so I was used to reading long documents, somehow staying engaged sometimes, not all the time. On the back end, a lot of them take an extra 15% off of what you are already getting or what they are already getting. So be careful with that. A lot of them sign you and you cannot get out until like a year. A lot of them try to own your name and have rights on that. So it's being educated on that and not naively trusting anyone who sounds nice and is willing to, give you the world. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But not with Alice. Alice is my real husband. Stir is my lover. I say that because Alice has been with me since the beginning. So when I met Alice, it was love at first sight because we FaceTimed. And I was like, I love you, bitch. I want you to be my manager. What do I have to do? She's actually a boss. She was like VP at Shiseido and Clinique and Bare Minerals. She was just this woman from Australia who was a bad bitch. And I immediately admired her. I loved her perspective on things. When we first connected, she really just wanted to give me advice. She was taking a break off of corporate because she was a little burnt out, and she was just helping represent her friends who are famous people because everyone loves Alice. If Alice ran for president, she would win. Even though she's not a US citizen, that's how good she is. She'd still win. I just loved her, and I was like, okay, what do I need to do for you to stay with me? Because she was like, this won't be permanent. It's just going to be for a year. And I'm like, okay, that's what they all say. And then they show up at my door at 3 a.m. with random gifts, professing their love. I'm like, this isn't appropriate. Just leave it at the door though, thanks. Yes, so that's also very important. It's like you're building a family, you're building your core group, and that is gonna dictate your success at the end. Who you surround yourself with, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Show me your brands, show me your manager, and I will show you how successful you're gonna be. It's all a ripple effect, it all matters. They're kind of like your lawyer/bodyguard. Like, Alice has my back. Like, when a brand is like being a little rude, Alice is like, whoa, don't talk to my girl like that. I'm like, yeah, Alice, you tell them. But they have your back, like you want them with you in a fight. Not that you're going to be fighting, but, and you also want a brand that understands you and they give you creative freedom. It's so beautiful. It's like a person that just loves you for you and lets you be yourself. I'm so passionate about this because I felt so limited with brands that hold me down in my creativity. I get legal. I get you want to, make the client happy and send a message across. But I also get it's my reputation too. And it's my platform. And it's an exchange here. It has to be mutual. In summation, trust your manager, pick the brands you want to work with and who want you for you. Don't be fooled. Read those contracts thoroughly and just, keep your core group an extension of what you believe in and what you admire and what you want to be. Like, look up to the people that work with you. So I just remember not liking the life that I was giving MK and thinking I was about to break into song, but I'm not. But if I were to, here's what I'd say. I can show you the world. I felt like Aladdin and MK was my Jasmine and she was like a princess and I wanted to give her the world, but I was living on a carpet or something, wherever he was living. So that was kind of my motivation, and I was just like, let's just work. And then it happened organically. When I started reaching a certain number, it made it easier when brands would reach out and they would be the ones being like, hey, we want to work with you. And I'd be like, let me think about it. But yes, please, I need a paycheck. It transitioned organically. And when you know, but it's different for everybody. It's when you're making enough money. And it's when you feel like it's consistent on enough time that makes sense to you. For me, it was about a consistent income of like 6 months. I was like, okay. And also, it was different for me because I was still waiting to go back to my old job. So it was a research coordinator. I loved my job. COVID hit. I couldn't go back because we had to be in person. So I think that also adds to the idea, don't do it for prestige or just to, do it because you actually enjoy it, and it'll translate in your work and your success. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, I hope this helped. If you have any more questions, just put it in the comments. I always love getting back to you guys. You guys are my YouTube fam. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of How You Can Be an Influencer. I love you, and I will see you next week.